Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to do a pre-update review of Professor X. And unlike the other two characters that I've done this before for Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic, Professor X is actually in a pretty interesting position because he's seemingly amazing, and he is still very, very good for regular world boss ultimate. And that's what I'm showcasing right now, right off the top of the bat. And you can see he's ripping through this. Now, I do have 9% Pierce, which basically acts as all defense down, like 100% all defense down in a way. And so that's why I don't even need to bring in Nimrod, which is what you're probably wondering, where's Nimrod? I don't need Nimrod at all. He did that in 37 seconds with no strikers and just Cyclops lead and Coulson support. And he shreds it, absolutely destroys it. And I can go ahead and I can do the same thing now in KNULL Obsidian, I believe. You can do the same thing against Corvus, and you can basically lock down Scarlet Witch. Even though she has high energy defense, you can still do it to her. Although you have type disadvantage, you can do it to him. You just need to have ignore dodge. You can do it to him. You can do it to him. So he's very, very good. I'm going to show you one more, but he's 98. Why 98, Alex? He's extremely good. I actually should have just done this. But he's extremely, extremely good against regular world bosses. And so his uniform presumably is going to make him even stronger, which is amazing, but he's already, as you can see, really good. And you don't even need 9% Pierce to do stage 99 of basically every world boss except for Thanos and Proxima, right? Except for Thanos and Proxima, he can just crush because he combines the mind defense down with his mind control, which basically stops the boss from doing anything unless you get snared there, and then he just deals massive damage with his accumulation. Easy to play, has healing. He's just like the total package, right? And you can see his damage is insane. And remember, which I forgot, his 5th skill is actually the one that has the accumulation. Oh, jeez. But yeah, you can see he's crazy good. We're gonna lock up KNULL Obsidian here. I think he was trying to go. He's like dancing. He's like stuttering. It's pretty funny. But we're going to lock him up here. And I think he's dead. Yeah. So his damage and his power is crazy for regular world boss. But obviously, two of his main factors in dealing damage, which is his ability to lock down the opponent so that they don't do any moves. Right? If the opponent doesn't do any moves, Ebony doesn't iframe, Corvus doesn't run around, KNULL Obsidian doesn't put up the cleanse, the debuff cleanse, then it makes it so much easier to just deal damage repeatedly. So it boosts your DPS because you're constantly dealing damage. You never have to stop. And then the second thing, of course, is he's dealing 100% mind damage, and every skill reduces mind resist. You can see mind resist going down. There's actually two types of mind. There's mind resist and mind resistance. So you can see there it decreases mind blast and mind resist by 30% for 2 seconds, but then it also decreases the mind resistance by 10% per hit to a maximum of -40. Now, I honestly can't tell you what the interaction is between mind resist and mind resistance, because they seem like the exact same thing, but apparently they're not. And that's sort of what makes him so good. But those things are taken away when he fights against KNULL and Mephisto, and also, you know, Squad Battle or ABX or GBR. So that's sort of where I'm hoping to see Professor X really shine. Now, it's possible that he becomes very good for PvP, but I'm mostly interested in PvE game modes, and those other game modes that I just mentioned are where Professor X sort of falls off. And it can be a little bit jarring when you're playing him because he's just so dominant against these other world bosses. And then you take him into GBR, and he's good in GBR, but like Cable is faster than him at tier 2. Sharon Rogers is faster, Moonstone is faster, and you're like, dang, you know, it starts to sort of, you know, you're trying to figure out what's going on. So I'm going to cover the build here really quickly, and then I'm going to take you into some KNULL action and show you and sort of talk about what he's missing, because I don't want to say he's a bad character. He's 100% not a bad character. He's amazing, and he didn't even necessarily need a uniform. I'm super happy that he's getting one, but you could make the argument that he didn't need one because he's so dominant for some game modes. But he definitely does have weaknesses right now that certain game modes are exploiting and making him less effective for it. So you got Power of Angry Hulk on the ISO set. I think you do need the attack speed to get through some of his animations, especially so you can spam 1 and 2 faster. We've got rank 5 on the type enhancement. We've got all the skills leveled up. We've got quite a few Odin's blessings, I will say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Odin's blessings, which is a lot, but he kind of needs it because until now he didn't have a uniform. The good news is if you get his uniform, he doesn't need the Odin's Blessings because you can cover for his stats with the uniform. You can also cover for his stats if you have crafted cards with good rolls like dodge and crit damage and crit rate and things like that, but he doesn't really have, actually I don't believe he has a frenzy buff at all. That's the other thing, they designed him without a frenzy buff. You know those all attack, all defense, all speed buffs that basically every character has now? Where's Storms? I'm pretty sure Storm has one. There's Storms, 30% all attack and all defense, 6% all speed, 30% crit rate. That frenzy buff is on every character. It wasn't in March 2020 for Professor X. Mystique got 2 different frenzy buffs. Charles got 0, so do with that what you want. I mean, even Mr. Sinister has a frenzy buff, which is wild to me, but anyways, so he didn't get one. So, you know, that's why you need all these Odin's Blessings in order to cap out his stats. Now all my stats are way over capped, also because of my crafted cards, but you can see, even with crafted cards and Odin's Blessings, he's only 3% over capped on crit damage, right? So keep that in mind, but the uniform will definitely help, and you won't need the Odin's Blessings nearly as much. And then, yes, I am rocking a CTP of Rage. I think for Professor X, there's only 2 options, a Rage or a Judgment. And there's pretty much no other option, at least for now. I'm not saying you should go and equip a Rage on him or equip a Judgment on him because we don't know what his uniform is going to do. His uniform could change his skills around, change his cooldowns, and make him very proc-friendly. I kind of hope that they do make him proc-friendly because that would be awesome, and it would open him up to using CTPs of energy and regular obelisks. But for now, Judgment and Rage, and if they keep his skills the same more or less, it's going to be Judgment or Rage. Obviously Judgment is very good for the chain hit damage and the all the elemental damage, but Rage also works well because you just want to spam skills for those 5 seconds. Now, despite not having any buffs, any real buffs on any of his skills besides the 5th skill, Accumulation and Heal, he also doesn't have very good passives, I have to say. He's got a 90% chance mind damage immunity passive for himself, which looks very 2019. His leadership, 20% all attack, is low, obviously. The mind resist is cute, but nobody deals mind damage in PvE content. The only ones that deal it is PvP, and it's like Jean Grey, so yeah. He's not going to be Jean Grey in PvP, I'll tell you that much. And then even his tier 2 passive, 20% mind damage is okay, but it's nothing special. And then the skill damage, bonus damage, 20% and 5%? 5? So he sort of feels not half-baked, but his passives, you could definitely see there was room for improvement. So I think the devs definitely designed him in a way where he would be getting a uniform in the future. Now, he does have 100% ignore dodge for 10 seconds, which makes him very good against Null without strikers. However, if you do play him that way, then your damage is going to be a little bit spiky. So we'll test it out now and you'll see. Okay, so because he has the 20% attack leadership, although it is a low amount of attack, he is able to technically take advantage of 2 support characters. So like a lot of these other showcases, like the one that I did for Mr. Fantastic, we are going to take advantage of those 2 and, you know, just rock with the 20%. I do think that a 20% leadership is bad, but even if I give him, like, let's say Cyclops, which is 65%, the 45% that I'm gaining in energy attack, I don't actually think it's worth losing the 40. Let me see if I can. Oh, you can't. Oh, I think you can. I just casted it too late. I think you absolutely can dodge the Null Cage with Professor X's ultimate ability if you can charge it up fast enough. But I do think that sacrificing the leadership, like sacrificing Cyclops' leadership and using Mystique or Valkyrie, or both, is better value, because I think a 45% increased damage to villains is worth more than a 45% increase energy attack, leadership, or passive. So we get through the first part pretty quickly. You can see his damage is pretty good when I'm normally playing out his skills, but then it really ramps up when I pop the tier 3, because now we have full 100% ignore dodge to hit Null and all of his bony skull guy, and all of his pasty-faced glory. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward fight here. Professor X is really fast on his feet. Hopefully he retains that that lateral quickness with his, you know, hover chair. We'll have to wait and see what happens when he sits down and gets down to business. But the nice thing about Professor X is he heals. So he does have quite a bit of sustain. But the bad thing about Professor X, funny enough, is that he has very low defense and very low HP. So even though he heals, his sustain is really bad. You can see the damage is good. And on top of that, I will say, you can see that sometimes it seems like the effects are, like the attacks are affecting Null because he gets that thing over his head, but it doesn't affect him. So you're not getting the Mind Resist or the Mind Blast or the Mind Resistance down. You're not getting any of that stuff. But one thing I will say about Professor X is his tier 3 skill hits the entire arena, and you can cancel it pretty early on to and continue to get the damage. But then also his 5th skill, if you don't cancel it, so usually I'm canceling it into other skills, but if you don't cancel it, it's a V-pad skill, so you can still run, you can still like move around, sort of like Gambit. You're not going to be an iframe when you're doing it, but you can see I can kind of move around and reposition myself if I'm in danger or what have you. And I can get to a better spot. I'm gonna heal here, and we're gonna be done. So yeah, looks like we're gonna finish this one with about a minute and a half left. We'll see here. We're going to pop the tier 3, pop the 4, the 1, the 2, then the 5, and we're just gonna hover around him. You can see I take a ton of damage, basically almost killing me. Despite having, what, 40% HP on cards and yada, yada, yada. But he gets it done in, yeah, I guess about 90 seconds left, which is pretty good. It means that he could possibly go to a higher stage if he could use those supports, but he is using double support. It's a pretty smooth clear. It's 9% Pierce, though. He definitely can't do this with 0% Pierce. And I actually do think, despite the fact that Professor X has no chain hit damage, that is one thing to note of. He has 0 chain hit damage. He actually benefits a lot from Pierce, oddly enough. It kind of doesn't make sense. He doesn't have Pierce damage, and he does elemental damage. But, yeah. With 0% Pierce, Professor X was not even really worth a support. You know, I wouldn't even put him on the team as a secondary damage dealer. I basically just didn't even use Professor X for any of my clears with 0% Pierce. That's how much worse he is against Null and Mephisto compared to other world bosses. So that was a pretty stark contrast for me, whereas I could use some characters on stage 1. I mean, even with 0% Pierce, I could use some characters on stage 9, right? So you can see Professor X and Odin were actually released around the same time. Odin was released a couple months later, but the two of them are similar. They both are tier 3able. They both require a CTP of Rage to really get the most out of them. You can use Judgment now for Professor X, but whatever. Let's say both with the Rage, and they can both do stage 99. The difference was, and the difference has been, you know, before Pierce, Odin was much slower for regular world boss ultimates because of the way his all defense down stacks and his overall damage. But Odin was much, much better for GBR and other content because he just hits really, really hard, and his accumulation just, you know, racks up faster. I don't know what it is about Odin, but he just hits really harder for GBR, for squad battle, for ABX than Professor X. And then come World Boss Legend, Odin outperforms Professor X. Thank you, but no thank you, Liliana. Odin outperforms Professor X. But as in terms of World Boss Ultimate, like KNULL and Ebony and stuff, Professor X owns Odin. He does that in a flash. I think tier 2 Professor X can do stage 99 Ebony without Pierce. Way before Pierce. I'm pretty sure Forgo Nation did stage 99 of Ebony Maw with Professor X and Weapon Hex combo. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how the character is so amazing for some game modes and then really falls off and looks sort of average for other game modes. You know, basically even within the same arena of game mode, right? Just going from here to here is going to make a huge difference in his performance. So we'll see how much better he gets. Like I said, he's very, very good now, depending on what you want him for, but he's about to get even stronger. So we'll see if it's PvE, PvP, maybe both. Is he going to become an amazing lead / support for mutant types? Are they going to really continue to push the ability tag and stuff like that? We're going to have to wait and see. I'm pretty excited for Professor X personally to get in that hover chair. Cannot wait to see the classic look with the ball man moves and the ball man swag. So yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Hit me up in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.